wait for it to load. We're doing chapter 23 today. I believe, I hope so. I hope that's the one that I was up to. I checked it last night. Okay. We're almost at the end of Catching Fire. I haven't streamed in quite a long time. So we'll see. Wow, I have like next to no annotations there. Okay. Let me have a look. Let me see. Where is the beginning? Okay, there we go. Chapter 23. I'm not 100% sure how many pages this all is going to be. I'll tell you in a second. Okay, looks like it's working. All right. Hello, everyone. Feel free to make comments about my annotations and all that, and I'll let you guys know I'm also highlighting with a pencil still, because I thought I've been highlighting with a pencil this entire time, or most of the time, and I thought, you know what, let me just continue doing that, because who cares? I'm not buying another highlighter now. Anyway, so here we are. Annotating with a pencil. I'm going to be reading out the chapter to you guys. Let's check how many pages it is first. I'm just going to... Okay. I'm trying to sit so I'm not knocking my camera. Okay. This is a lot of pages. 427. Like 34 pages. Okay, where did we leave off? Oh, okay, so finally they've said finally Katniss pieces together at least one thing going on because she's so clueless. So yeah, Katniss is doing something at least. Okay, let's get to annotating. Chapter 23, A Clock. I can almost see the hands ticking around the 12-sectioned face of the arena. Hang on. A clock. I can almost see the hands ticking around the 12-sectioned face of the arena. Each hour begins a new horror, a new game maker weapon, and ends with the previous: lightning, blood rain, fog, monkeys. Those are the first 4 hours on the clock. And at 10, the wave. I don't know what happens in the other 7, but I know Virus is right. And for everyone who's just joining, just feel free to comment about any annotations I'm making today. I know that I uploaded a video earlier as well about Peter being luckier than Lenore Dove. Let me know if you guys are going to watch that one. All right, lightning, blood rain, fog, monkeys. I'm just going to highlight that because that's how this arena is working with the clock. So just going to do that. At present, the blood rain's falling and we're on the beach below the monkey segment, far too close to the fog for my liking. Do the various attacks stay within the confines of the jungle? Not necessarily. The wave didn't. If that fog leaches out of the jungle or the monkeys return, she's contemplating really what's going on and how exactly the mutts or like each segment could attack her in some way. And I know a lot of people in the fandom recently have been discussing the idea that possibly each segment, I lost my train of thought for a second, that each segment each segment of the clock is specifically targeting like one particular tribute. Like maybe the Jabberjays were meant for Haymitch, but they ended up being for Katniss. I think there was the Blood Rain is for Wiress because she didn't like shed a single drop of blood in her own arena. And then also, what else would you say? Like, there was other people that I can't remember. There's monkeys, fog, blood rain, lightning. That it's for each tribute. I don't know how much I believe in that because I think it's kind of a stretch for some of them. But you know, maybe you guys disagree in some capacity. Get up, Iota shaking, Peter and Finnick and Joanna awake. Get up, we have to move. There's enough time, though, to explain the clock theory to them, the Wiress's ticking, tick-tocking, and how the movements of the invisible hands trigger a deadly force in each section. I think I've convinced everyone who's conscious, except Joanna, who's naturally opposed to liking anything, I suggest. But even she agrees it's better to be safer than sorry. While the others collect a few possessions and get Beatty back into his jumpsuit, I rouse Virus. She wakes with a panicked tick-tock. Yes, tick-tock, the arena's a clock. It's a clock, Virus. You were right, I say. You were right. And I'm not sure what should I be annotating here? Because it's just them figuring out it's a clock for now. I guess I could highlight here Joanna's characterization. I could highlight Joanna's naturally opposed to liking anything I suggest. And I'm just going to highlight it on a bit of an angle. Yes, I'm using a pencil. It's because my highlighter ran out of ink at one point during a live stream in the past. And I thought, well, I've been annotating using a pencil this whole time. May as well keep going with it, you know? May as well. Okay, let's move on. We're up to this part. Relief floods her face. She's literally the canary in the coal mine at this point as well. I think Dwyer's dies in this chapter. I guess because somebody has finally understood what she's known probably from the first tolling of the bells. Midnight. It starts at midnight, I confirm. And this is something very similar to Sunrise on the Reaping as well, as we know now, that what's happening is she figures out her original arena in the 49th Hunger Games. So I'm going to just highlight this part as well. She's probably known from the first tolling of the bells. Okay. I'm just going to write an annotation about that. Similar to how... Because Wiress is super smart. Oh no, this is running out of ink, this pen. Wiress figures out her first arena. The 49th Games. All right. A memory struggles to surface in my brain. I see a clock. No, it's a watch. Resting in Plutarch Heavensby's palm. Starts at midnight, Plutarch said. And then my Mockingjay lit up briefly and vanished. In retrospect, it's like he was giving me a clue about the arena. But why would he? At the time, I was no more a tribute in these games than he was. Maybe he thought it would help me as a mentor. Or maybe this had been the plan all along, and I want to highlight that for emphasis as well, because we know that the rebels were already plotting at this stage to get them out of the arena. I don't think that they were necessarily plotting at the stage Plutarch gave her a clue for being a mentor. It was more for when Katniss is a mentor to give her a clue. But what's happening? Although the thing is, maybe the mentors already know that it's a clock because they're seeing the commentary by like Caesar Flickerman and Claudius Templesmith and all of that. But I just want to highlight that for emphasis there. Virus nods at the blood rain. 1:30, she says. Exactly, 1:30, and at 2, a terrible poisonous fog begins there, I say, pointing at the nearby jungle. So we have to move somewhere safe now. She smiles and stands up obediently. Are you thirsty? I hand her the woven bowl and she gulps down about a liter. Wow, that's a lot of water to just like drink all at once, right? Or am I crazy? Finnick gives her the last bit of bread and she gnaws on it. With the inability to communicate overcome, she's functioning again. Check my weapons, tie up the spile and the tube of medicine and the parachute and fix it to my belt with vine. And I have also been highlighting everything to do with food in this as well. Everything to do with, because of the multiple meanings of the Hunger Games. And I think that water should be included in this particular section that I'm highlighting, that she's drinking water. At this point, Lyris is about the same age as Haymitch as well. Something I forget because she's like, they kind of, I don't know, would you say infantilize her in some way? Like they treat her like a little kid in some capacity because she's not able to communicate. At least that's how they treat her in the movies. And maybe that's how I'm imagining it because of that specific reason. I check my weapons, tie up the spile and the tube of medicine and the parachute and fix it to my belt with vine. Beatty's still pretty out of it, but when Peter tries to lift him, he objects. Wire, he says. She's right here, Peter tells him. Virus is fine, she's coming too. But still, Beatty struggles. Wire, he insists. Oh, I know what he wants, says Joanna impatiently. She crosses the beach and picks up the cylinder we took from his belt when we were bathing him. It's coated in a thick layer of congealed blood. The thing that I find interesting here is that this wire is able to attach to Beatty's belt. So the way in which it's depicted in the films is quite different because we know that the wire is quite large. So the wire that we see in Catching Fire in the book is actually very thin wire that's very small, and that's the whole point, that it's like this wire that's a capital dystopian innovation that is, I believe, possibly Beatty also maybe invented himself. Don't quote me on that. We might find that out later. So because we know that Beatty invented a lot of things that the capital utilizes. So when it comes to, of course, this wire, it's depicted very differently in the movies, which I find interesting. This worthless thing, it's some kind of wire or something. That's how he got cut, running up to the cornucopia to get this. I don't know what kind of weapon it's supposed to be. I guess you could pull off a piece and use it as a garrote or something, but really, can you imagine Beatty garroting someone? I don't know what that means, garrote. Garrote. Let me just look it up, because am I saying it right? Garrote? Garroting someone? What is? Consists of a handheld ligature of chain, rope, scarf, wire, or fishing line used to strangle a person. Okay, I can see that. But no, I can't see, I agree with Joanna, I can't see Beatty actually doing that. I've always thought of Beatty as kind of like a pacifist in some capacity, but we know that he does participate in creating the bombs that kills Prim in Mockingjay with Gale, so he definitely isn't a pacifist. It's just the way that I think, the way I've imagined Beatty. So I don't know, do you guys see Beatty as more of a pacifist, or do you remember how he actually ended up being the one who designed the bombs with Gale that killed Prem? I don't know, let me know. He won his games with wire, setting up that electrical trap, says Peter. It's the best weapon he could have. I'm wondering if I could highlight this, because that's how he won his games. I think there's a chance we highlighted that earlier in the novel as well. There's like a possibility, I can't remember. I'm just gonna move this to the side while I highlight using a pencil. Okay. And I'm going to write a little annotation as well that it is Beatty knows how he's going to escape the arena. Beatty already has a plan to escape the arena. That's just what I've written there. There's something odd about Joanna not putting this together. Something that doesn't quite ring true. Suspicious. Seems like you'd have figured that out, I say, since you nicknamed him Volts and all. Katniss is catching on. Wow. This is actually something that I'm like, wow, I can't believe Katniss actually put something together for once. So I'm just going to write my opinion in the margins as well of the book. Something else we do when we're annotating, we write our opinions about what's going on in the book. Putting something together. I'm just saying I can't believe Katniss started putting this together. ... Okay. Joanna's eyes narrow at me dangerously. Yeah, that was really stupid of me, wasn't it? She says. I guess I must have been distracted by keeping your little friends alive while you were what again? Getting Mags killed off? My fingers tightened on the knife handle at my belt. Go ahead, try it. I don't care if you're knocked up. I'll rip your throat out, says Joanna. Wow, very vicious. Jeez. Very vicious. I'm just writing my opinion once again there. I know I can't kill her right now, but it's just a matter of time with Joanna and me before one of us offs the other. Maybe we all had better be careful where we step, says Finnick, shooting me a look. He takes the coil and sets it on Beatty's chest. There's your wire, Volts. Watch where you plug it. It's kind of funny. And I think I might highlight that. Okay, and the thing that I find interesting here is that Finnick actually isn't allowing them to kill each other because he knows that they're going to be rescued out of the arena. So they're not like the automatic response from Finnick is not kill someone. But with Joanna, she's still being quite vicious about that as well. Peter picks up the new unresisting Beatty. Where to? I'd like to go to the cornucopia and watch, just to make sure we're right about the clock, says Finnick. It seems as good a plan as any. Besides, I wouldn't mind the chance of going over the weapons again, and there are 6 of us now. Even if you count Beatty and Wirus out, we've got 4 good fighters. It's so different from where I was last year at this point, doing everything on my own. Yes, it's great to have allies as long as you can ignore the thought that you'll have to kill them. And she has a good point, but she has no idea about the plan either as well. So I might just highlight that and make a little annotation there as well. Okay. Katniss still doesn't know about the rebel plan, but has a plan of her own, obviously, because she knows that she can't necessarily get away with not killing these people at this point in the games. Beatty and Wirus will probably find some way to die on their own. Wow, Katniss, okay. If we have to run from something, how far would they get? Joanna, frankly, I could easily kill if it came down to protecting Peter. Okay, calm down, Katniss. Jeez, she's already plotting everyone's deaths at this point. Or maybe even just shut her up. What I really need is for someone to take out Finnick for me, since I don't think I can do it personally. Not after all he's done for Peter. I think about maneuvering him into some kind of encounter with the Krias. It's cold, I know, but what are my options? Now that we know about the clock, he probably won't die in the jungle, so someone's going to have to kill him in battle. And they almost do. Like, I think there's a whole battle with Finnick, Peter, and Brutus that we know that Brutus ends up dead at the hands of Peter, as far as I know. Or at least that's what everyone's assumed. I don't think that's necessarily something that was said in the text, but we'll find out later. I want to highlight this because the little sibling relationship that we see throughout Mockingjay is starting to develop here. Okay. Sibling relationship. The sibling relationship is starting to develop. Okay. Because this is so repellent to think about, my mind frantically tries to change topics. But the only thing that distracts me from my current situation is fantasizing about killing President Snow. Not very pretty daydreams for a 17-year-old girl, I guess, but very satisfying. And I think I just want to highlight that because I find it... It's kind of just funny that even Katniss is aware of this. And Suzanne Collins has pointed out to us that it's not pretty daydreams, not at all. I could say it's like kind of foreshadowing in some capacity, maybe, that we know that it's we know that she gets a chance to kill Snow, but she ends up killing Coin instead. We walk down the near sand strip, approaching the cornucopia with care, just in case the Krias are concealed there. I doubt they are, because we've been on the beach for hours and there's been no sign of life. The area is abandoned, as I expected. Only the big golden horn and the picked-over pile of weapons remain. When Peter lays Beatty in the bit of shade the cornucopia provides, he calls out to Iris. She crouches beside him and he puts the coil of wire in her hands. Clean it, will you? He asks. Oh, just sent Iris off to her death there. And is it Beatty sending Iris off unknowingly to her death? That's so sad. Iris nods and scampers over to the water's edge, where she dunks the coil in the water. She starts quietly singing some funny little song about a mouse running up a clock. It must be for children, but it seems to make her happy. Katniss is also unaware of this song. Weird. It's not from her district. I'm also going to write something about Katniss being a canary. Not Katniss, Iris being a canary in a coal mine. Katniss is unaware of a real-world children's song. It's not from her district. Actually, I might add that as well there. It's not from her district. Oh, not from her district. Okay. I think I'm going to highlight a bit of this paragraph as well. Singing as the canary in a coal mine. There's lots about canaries and canaries in the coal mine when it comes to catching fire, because they're alerting Katniss silently, almost, that there is a rebel plan going on. I'll just highlight this bit as well. Just this bit. This is one sentence. Okay. Continuing on. Oh, not the song again, says Joanna, rolling her eyes. That went on for hours before she started tick-tocking. Suddenly, Iris stands up very straight and points to the jungle. 2, she says. I follow her finger to where the wall of fog has just begun to seep out onto the beach. Is it 2 a.m.? Is that what it is? Or is it 2 p.m.? Can't remember. But I guess it happened to Finnick Mags, Peter and Katniss at 2 in the morning. So it would be like 2 p.m. now, I guess. Yes, look, Iris is right. It's 2 o'clock and the fog has started. Like clockwork, says Peter. You were very smart to figure that out, Iris. Iris smiles and goes back to singing and dunking her coil. Oh, she's more than smart, says Beatty. She's intuitive. We all turn to look at Beatty, who seems to be coming back to life. She can sense things before anyone else, like a canary in one of your coal mines. And I just want to highlight pretty much all of that paragraph, because it's to do with Iris's characterization, which is important, as we've also mentioned over here. She's a canary in a coal mine, and this foreshadows her death that comes up like almost immediately after. We're going to see Iris dying, I think, at the end of this chapter. So, well, how many pages are left in this chapter? Quite a number of pages, actually. Wow, what the hell? It's quite a few pages. Foreshadows Iris's death. Okay. What's that? Finnick asked me. It's a bird that we take down into the mines to warn us if there's bad air, I say. What's it do? Die? Asks Joanna. It stops singing first, and we can see that she's already singing over here. They're having the conversation as Iris is being killed. That's when you should get out. But if the air's too bad, it dies, yes. And so do you. I don't want to talk about dying, songbirds. They bring up thoughts of my father's death and Rue's death and Maisley Donna's death and my mother inheriting her songbird. Oh, great. And now I'm thinking of Gale, deep down in that horrible mine, with President Snow's threat hanging over his head. So easy to make it look like an accident down there. A silent canary, a spark, and nothing more. Okay. I want to highlight this because this is an indicator that possibly Burdock's death was an accident as well. And all the other mining accidents could possibly have to do with the capital trying to get rid of rebels like Gale and like Burdock, of course. Alluding to... Is this alluding to... Okay, I've just written, is this also alluding to Burdock's death not being an accident as well? Okay. I go back to imagining killing the president. Okay, keep fantasizing about killing the president there, Katniss. It's doing you some good, I guess. Despite her annoyance at Iris, Joanna is as happy as I've seen her in the arena. While I'm adding to my stock of arrows, she pokes around until she comes up with a pair of lethal-looking axes. It seems an odd choice until I see her throw one with such force it sticks in the sun-soft gold of the cornucopia. That's kind of crazy that the gold is soft enough for an axe to go through it. Crazy. And it's gold as well, because like Katniss's pin. Of course, Joanna Mason, District 7, lumber. I bet she's been tossing around axes since she could toddle. It's like Finnick with his trident, or Beatty with his wire, Rue with her knowledge of plants. I realize it's just another disadvantage the District 12 tributes have faced over the years. We don't go down in the mines until we're 18. It looks like most of the other tributes learn something about their trades early on. There are things you do in a mine that could come in handy in the games. Wielding a pick, blowing things up, give you an edge, the way my hunting did. But we learned them too late. And I want to just highlight from here, basically, in this part of the paragraph, because it's more to do with the world building and how District 12 is at a disadvantage, possibly on purpose as well. Snow could have intentionally done that, or he could, when he had the option to send people down at a younger age. I don't think we see anyone who is necessarily working in the mines at a young age. I know there's Jessup, who I believe, in my own brain, there's a possibility Jessup he was already working the mines. I know that Wyatt was already working in the mines as well when he entered the Hunger Games, but at that point, it's because Wyatt is 18. I don't remember how old Jessup was, but Wyatt was 18 when he entered the mines and entered the Hunger Games. So still, yeah, they're still a part of the Hunger Games at that stage, but he still entered the mines. Could have given him an edge as well. I wonder, had Wyatt survived the bloodbath, could he have like wielded a pickaxe as well? That would be interesting to see from one of the District 12 people wielding a pick, because they were 18 when they went into the games. But we don't see that perspective because Wyatt dies very early on. Okay. Okay. Could this have been done purposely? While I've been messing with the weapons, Peter's been squatting on the ground, drawing something with the tip of his knife on a large, smooth leaf he brought from the jungle. I look over his shoulder and he's creating a map of the arena. In the center is the cornucopia on its circle of sand with 12 strips branching out from it. It looks like a pie sliced into 12 equal wedges. There's another circle representing the waterline and a slightly larger one indicating the edge of the jungle. Look how the cornucopia is positioned, he says to me. I examine the cornucopia and see what he means. The tail points towards 12 o'clock. I say, right, so this is the top of our clock, he says, and quickly scratches the numbers 1 through 12 around the clock face. 1 for each district, of course. 12 to 1 is the lightning zone. He writes lightning in tiny print in the corresponding wedge, then works clockwise, adding blood, fog, and monkeys in the following sections. And 10 to 12 is the wave. I say he adds it. Finnick and Joanna join us at this point, armed to the teeth with tridents, axes, and knives. Did you notice anything unusual in the others? I asked Joanna and Beatty, since they might have seen something we didn't, but all they've seen is a lot of blood. I guess they could hold anything. I'm going to mark the ones where we know the game maker's weapons follow us past the jungle. So we'll stay clear of those, says Peter, drawing the diagonal lines on the fog and wave beaches. Then he sits back. Well, it's a lot more than we knew this morning. Anyway, we all nod in agreement. And that's when I notice it. The silence. Our canary has stopped singing. Oh no. Wyris, she's gone. She's dead. Oh, Wyris. I'm just going to draw a little sad face there. Oh, Wyris, no. Wyris, don't die. I don't wait. I load an arrow as I twist and get a glimpse of a dripping wet gloss letting Wyris slide to the ground. Her throat slit open in a bright red smile. Is that what he does in... Yeah, it does. Yeah, in the movies, because I don't remember it being that graphic in the movies, but I think he does gloss. I don't, hang on, wait, which one's gloss? And he. So Gloss is the man, is the brother, and Cashmere is the sister. Okay, so yeah, I was correct in saying he. So I think he does kill Wyris in that way in the movies. The point of my arrow disappears into his right temple, and in the instant it takes to reload, Joanna has buried an axe blade in Cashmere's chest. And there goes Cashmere dead. Finnick knocks... Oh, wait. Oh, so they're both dead as well. I was just like considering that for a moment. Yeah, they're both dead in an instant. They die pretty much together, which is kind of poetic in a way that both the brother and sister die immediately. Finnick knocks away a spear Brutus throws at Peter and takes Annabara's knife in his thigh. If there... Wait, Finnick does? Yeah. If there wasn't a cornucopia to duck behind, they'd be dead. Both of the tributes from District 2, I spring forward in pursuit. Boom, boom, boom. The cannon fires. There's no way to help Wirus. No need to finish off Gloss or Kashmir. My allies and I are rounding the horn, starting to give chase to Brutus and Anabaria, who are sprinting down a sand strip towards the jungle. Suddenly, the ground jerks beneath my feet and I'm flung on my side in the sand. The circle of land that holds the cornucopia starts spinning fast, really fast, and I can see the jungle going by in a blur. I feel the centrifugal force. Okay. Every so often in this book series, hang on, let me finish the sentence and I'll tell you. Centrifugal force pulling me towards the water and dig my hands and feet into the sand, trying to get some purchase on unstable ground. You're telling me that Katniss, 17-year-old Katniss, who has only gotten a level of education up until 16, somehow knows the word centrifugal force. I don't even, like, I've heard this word centrifugal force in the context of the Hunger Games, and that's it. You're telling me Katniss knows what centrifugal force means? No, I don't think so. A lot of these victors are incredibly uneducated. So there's every so often Katniss uses a big word that I'm like, there's no way in hell she actually knows that word. It's just Suzanne Collins' own vocabulary, like, poking through in this book series. I think I might actually highlight that. Make a little note. No way Katniss actually knows this word. This is like, that's one of the few errors in the books that I'm like, there's no way. Okay, there's no way Katniss knows this word. Suzanne Collins is just using her own vocabulary here as well. Coughing and queasy, I sit up slowly to find my companions in the same condition. Finnick, Joanna, and Peter have hung on. The 3 dead bodies have been tossed out into the seawater. The whole thing, from missing Wirus' song to now, can't have taken more than a minute or two. We sit there panting, scraping the sand out of our mouths. "Where's Volts?" says Joanna, round our feet. One wobbly circle of the cornucopia confirms he's gone. Finnick spots him about 20 meters out in the water, barely keeping afloat, and swims out to haul him in. That's when I remember the wire and how important it was to him. I look frantically around. Good thing that Katniss is luckier than Haymitch, because otherwise she wouldn't have had that thought and would have lost that wire forever. She has the good luck to be able to remember it in time. Where is it? Where is it? And then I see it, still clutched in Wirus' hand, far out in the water. My stomach contracts at the thought of what I must do next. I think I might just highlight that for emphasis because it's something Katniss is doing. That she has a level of humanity because she doesn't want to go near Wirus' dead body. Cover me, I say to the others. Toss aside my weapons and race down the strip closest to her body. Without slowing down, I dive into the water and start for her. Out of the corner of my eye, I can see the hovercraft appearing over us, the claws starting to descend to take her away. But I don't stop. I just keep swimming as hard as I can and end up slamming into her body. Ugh. Ugh. That's an unpleasant thought. So close to not having the wire to get them out of the arena here. Katniss, luckier than Haymitch, and I think I'm going to write that. They were so close to losing their ability to break the arena, but Katniss is locked up in Haymitch. Right, moving on. I come up gasping, trying to avoid swallowing the blood-stained water that spreads out from the open wound in her neck. Oh my god. She's floating on her back, borne up by her belt in death, staring into that relentless sun. As I tread water, I have to wrench the coil of wire from her fingers, because her final grip on it is so tight. There's nothing I can do then but close her eyelids, whisper goodbye, and swim away. By the time I swing the coil up to the sand and pull myself from the water, her body's gone. But I can still taste her blood mingled with the sea salt. Ugh. Ugh. Quite the imagery. Quite the morbid imagery is just what I'm writing here. Okay. I walk back to the cornucopia. Finnick's got Beatty back alive, although a little waterlogged, sitting up and snorting out water. He had the good sense to hang on to his glasses, so at least he can see. I place the reel of wire on his lap. It's sparkling clean, no blood left at all. He unravels a piece of wire and runs it through his fingers. For the first time, I see it, and it's unlike any wire I know. A pale golden color, of course, gold. I'm just going to highlight that because it's gold. No annotation needed. I think I'm going to be able to remember, hopefully, why I've like highlighted something about gold. And a pale golden color and as fine as a piece of hair. I wonder how long it is. There must be miles of the stuff to fill the large spool, but I don't ask because I know he's thinking of Virus. Virus, who was a part of the rebel plot during the 50th games as well. Okay. I look at the others' sober faces. Now Finnick, Joanna, and Beatty have all lost their district partners. I cross the Peter and wrap my arms around him, and for a while we all stay silent. Let's get off this stinking island, Joanna says finally. There's only the matter of our weapons now, which we've largely retained. Fortunately, the vines here are strong, and the spiral and tube of medicine wrapped in the parachute is still secured to my belt. Hang on, my laptop's gonna die. I'm just using it to watch my live stream. Make sure it's working properly. I can't believe this chapter is still going. My god. Okay. These are long chapters, man. Really long chapters. Okay. All I'm thinking about is how siblings don't survive now, just from a comment. Yeah. And then, where was I up to? Oh. Finnick strips off his undershirt and ties it around the wound Annabara's knife made in his thigh. It's not deep. Beatty thinks he can walk now if we go slowly, so I help him up. We decide to head to the beach at 12 o'clock. That should provide hours of calm and keep us clear of any poisonous residue. And then Peter, Joanna, and Finnick head off in 3 different directions. 12 o'clock, right, says Peter. The tail points to 12. Before they spun us, says Finnick, I was judging by the sun. Sun only tells you it's going on 4, Finnick, I say. The thing is, in the movies, there's only one lightning tree, and they spin them anyway, and Plutarch goes, let's see them, like, try to figure it out now. And it is, like, it makes no sense in the movies. But that line would still work had they kept true to the design of the arena from the books, which is that there's a tree in each segment. I think Katniss's point is knowing the time doesn't mean you necessarily know where 4 is on the clock. You might have a general idea of the direction unless you consider that they may have shifted the outer ring of the jungle as well, says Beatty. No, Katniss's point was a lot more basic than that. I love her internal monologue. That's so funny. Beatty's articulated a theory far beyond my comment on the sun, but I just nod my head like I've been on the same page all along. Yes, so any of these paths could lead to 12 o'clock, I say. And that I find absolutely hilarious. Okay. I'm just writing that I love Katniss's comment. Yeah. Okay. We circle around the cornucopia, scrutinizing the jungle. It's a baffling uniformity. I remember the tall tree that took the first lightning strike at 12 o'clock, but every sector has a similar tree. Joanna thinks the follow are barriers and British's tracks, but they've been blown or washed away. There's no way to tell where anything is. I should have never mentioned the clock, I say bitterly. Now they've taken that advantage away as well. Only temporarily, says Beatty. At 10, we'll see the wave again and be back on track. Yes, they can't redesign the whole arena, says Peter. It doesn't matter, says Joanna impatiently. You had to tell us or we never would have moved our camp in the first place, brainless. Ironically, her logical, if demeaning, reply is the only one that comforts me. Yes, I had to tell them to get them to move. Come on, I need water. Anyone have a good gut feeling? We randomly choose a path and take it, having no idea what number we're headed for. When we reach the jungle, we peer into it, trying to decipher what may be waiting inside. Well, it must be monkey hour, and I don't see any of them in there, says Peter. I'm going to try to tap a tree. No, it's my turn, says Finnick. I'll at least watch your back, Peter says. Katniss can do that, says Joanna. We need you to make another map, the other washed away. She yanks a large leaf off a tree and hands it to him. And I'm not going to highlight this exact area. But this is, I guess, for a moment I'm suspicious they're trying to divide and kill us. And I'm just going to make a comment probably down here. Because the reason they're dividing them is so they don't run off. So they can't keep track of them. You know, trying to keep the Mockingjay alive. So, they're dividing them. To make sure they protect, to ensure the Mockingjay is safe. Okay, just in case Peter and Katniss decide to run away. Okay. But it doesn't make sense. I'll have the advantage on Finnick if he's dealing with the tree and Peter's much bigger than Joanna. So I follow Finnick about 15 meters into the jungle where he finds a good tree and starts stabbing to make a hole with his knife. As I stand there, weapons ready, I can't lose the uneasy feeling that something is going on, and that has to do with Peter. Well, you're wrong. I think it's to do with, where did my pencil go? Oh, there it is. I think it has to do with more, you know, Katniss herself. I mean, Coin's choice was Peter, so maybe they were trying to get Peter out as well. Maybe he was the priority, I don't know. But I know that someone was told that Katniss is the priority, maybe by Plutarch. No, it's mostly just Katniss. Okay. We're almost done with this chapter as well. Okay. I retrace our steps, starting from the moment the gong rang out, searching for the source of my discomfort. Finnick towing Peter in off his metal plate. Finnick reviving Peter after the force field stopped his heart. Mags running into the fog so that Finnick could carry Peter. The morphling hurling herself in front of him to block the monkey's attack. I guess both of them. Hang on, let me just add that. I like how Katniss doesn't realize that it's to do with her as well. Maybe they know that, like, Katniss will lose her mind if they don't get Peter out alive as well. Where was I up to? The fight with the Koreas was so quick, but didn't Finnick block Brutus's spear from hitting Peter, even though it meant taking Annabara's knife in his leg? And even now, Joanna has him drawing a map on a leaf rather than risking the jungle. Well, yeah, Peter is the person they need to protect so Katniss doesn't lose her mind and turn on everyone else. I imagine Finnick is like, well, keep Peter alive, because if Peter dies, then Katniss is going to lose her mind at all of you. So she will kill you if Peter dies. There is no question about it. For reasons completely unfathomable to me, some of the other victors are trying to keep him alive, even if that means sacrificing themselves. I'm just going to highlight that for emphasis. It's the rebel plot, Katniss. Think about it for a second. They learned from Haymitch that they can't let the tribute know themselves that that's what's going on as well. The rebel plot. Okay. I'm dumbfounded. For one thing, that's my job. For another, it doesn't make sense. Only one of us can get out, so why have they chosen Peter to protect? What has Haymitch possibly said to them? What has he bargained with to make them put Peter's life above their own? I know my own reasons for keeping Peter alive. He's my friend, and this is my way to defy the Capitol, to subvert its terrible games. But if I had no real ties to him, what would make me want to save him, to choose him over myself? Certainly he is brave, but we all have been brave enough to survive the games. There is that quality of goodness that's hard to overlook, but still. And then I think of it. What Peter can do so much better than the rest of us. He can use words. He obliterated the rest of the field at both interviews, and maybe it's because of that underlying goodness that he can move a crowd, no, a country, to his side with the turn of a simple sentence. And I believe there's something similar in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes as well, that there's a goodness in us all, something that Lucy Gray says to us. I think I'm just going to highlight this for emphasis as well. And after this, we're going to go on to chapter 24 as well. So we're doing 2 chapters today in the live stream. This has a lot to do with Peter's characterization and the thoughts Katniss has surrounding who Peter is. She definitely has him on a pedestal at this point as well. I remember thinking that was the gift the leader of our revolution should have. Has Haymitch convinced the others of this? That Peter's tongue would have far greater power against the Capitol than any other physical strength the rest of us could claim? I don't know. It still seems like a really long leap for some of the tributes. I mean, we're talking about Joanna Mason here, but what other explanation can there be for the decided efforts to keep him alive? Well, Peter was the person Coin chose. Just gonna write that down. President Coin wanted these attributes in President Coin wanted these attributes in the face of the rebellion. Face of the rebellion. Okay, almost done with this chapter. Okay, on to this part here. Katniss, got that spile? Finnick asked, snapping me back to reality. I cut the vine that ties the spile to my belt and hold the metal tube out to him. Everyone who's just joining now, we're about to go into chapter 24, so we're doing 2 chapters today. We're almost at the end of chapter 23, and then we're moving on. That's when I hear the scream, so full of fear and pain, it ices my blood, and so familiar. I drop the spile, forget where I am or what lies ahead. Only I know I must reach her, protect her. So I'm just sneezing. I run wildly in the direction of the voice, heedless of danger, ripping through vines and branches, through anything that keeps me from reaching her, from reaching my little sister. Oh, this is the Jabberjay Mutts here. Imitating this. A lot of people say, like, where did they get the scream? They definitely got the scream from Prim from the first reaping, the 74th Hunger Games reaping. Jabberjay Mutts. Okay, on to chapter 24 now. How many pages is this? I think we're ending this chapter on page 427, where Peter's child could be saved. Okay, we'll read that again later. Okay, this is oh, knocked my camera. This is Katniss kind of just thinking about what exactly is happening. It's 17 pages long. Wow, okay. This is gonna be there's gonna be a bit of noise for a second. Someone's leaving the house. Oh. Yeah, okay. So 17 pages in this chapter. Great. We're gonna talk a little bit about, oh, you see, it's a Jabberjay right here. Okay. Where is she? What are they doing to her? Prim, I cry out. Prim, another agonized scream answers. How did she get here? Why is she a part of the games? Prim. Vines, I know I'm not yelling quite a bit like Kat or Jennifer Lawrence does in the movies, but it's because it's early in the morning, guys. It's only 8:30. I'm not a morning person. Vines cut into my face and arms. Creepers grab my feet, but I am getting closer to her. Closer, very close now. Sweat pours down my face, stinging the healing acid wounds. I pant, trying to get some use out of the warm, moist air that seems empty of oxygen. Prim makes a sound, such a lost, irretrievable sound that I can't even imagine what they have done to evoke it. Prim, I rip through a wall of green into a small clearing, and the sound repeats directly above me. Above me? My head whips back. Do they have her up in the trees? I desperately search the branches, but see nothing. Prim? I say pleadingly. I hear her, but can't see her. Her next wail rings out clear as a bell, and there's no mistaking the source. It's coming from the mouth of a small crested blackbird perched on a branch about 3 meters over my head. And then I understand. It's a Jabberjay. I'm just going to highlight this section because it has to do with the look of a Jabberjay. Very similar, of course, to the Mockingjay, because we know the Mockingjays are like a crested blackbird. Although I think they have like a little white on them. At least how they're depicted in the movies. A small crested blackbird. For anyone wondering why I'm using a pencil, by the way, it's because I started using a highlighter and the ink ran out. And then I started using a pencil instead. And I thought, like, I think I live streamed last like 2 months ago. And I thought, well, I've come this far with just a pencil. I may as well just keep going, you know. I've never seen one before. I thought they no longer existed. And for a moment, as I lean against the trunk of the tree, clutching the stitch in my side, I examine it. The mutation, the forerunner, the father, of course, as well. I'm just going to highlight that for the characterization of a Jabberjay. Pull up a mental image of a mockingbird, fuse it with the Jabberjay, and yes, I can see how they made it to make my Mockingjay. There is my Mockingjay because she is the Mockingjay. I'm literally writing that down as an annotation. My Mockingjay because Katniss is the Mockingjay. There's nothing about the bird that suggests it's a mutt, nothing except the horribly lifelike sounds of Prim's voice streaming from its mouth. I silence it with an arrow in its throat. The bird falls to the ground. I remove my arrow and wring its neck for good measure. My God. Then I hurl the revolting thing into the jungle. No degree of hunger would ever tempt me to eat it. It wasn't real, I tell myself. Same way the mutation wolves last year weren't really the dead tributes. It's just a sadistic trick of the game makers. Well, how did they make them look so uncanny, like so alike? I think I'm just going to write a little annotation there about that as well. I'm just going to move this up a bit. Just move where I'm putting the annotation. Okay, what I've written here is, but how did they make them look / sound so alike? There is something I have with Inesu from Bubble Sue on YouTube. I have this theory with her that we think that the Avoxes are turned into mutts for the arena specifically. And that's how they created the wolf mutts in some capacity. So it is very human-like because they're using humans and human DNA, but they're not necessarily using the true source. So they're not necessarily using the bodies of the dead tributes. They're not necessarily using Prim screaming, but maybe they've gotten it from like her screaming during the reaping of the 74th Hunger Games, stuff like that. It is human, but just to the left. It's that, which is why it's so uncanny. Finnick crashes into the clearing to find me wiping my arrow clean with some moss. Canis? It's okay. I'm okay, I say, although I don't feel okay at all. I thought I heard my sister, but the piercing shriek cuts me off. It's another voice, not Prim's, maybe a young woman's. I don't recognize it, but the effect on Finnick is instantaneous. The color vanishes from his face, and I can actually see his pupils dilate in fear. Finnick, wait, I say, reaching out to reassure him, but he's bolted away, gone off in pursuit of the victim, as mindlessly as I pursued Prim. Finnick, I call, but I know he won't turn back and wait for me to give a rational explanation, so all I can do is follow him. And I want to just highlight this. The effect on Finnick is instantaneous. I love the imagery Susan Collins puts into the books as well. It's so amazing. I'm just going to write an annotation that it's about the imagery. Okay, I just love this imagery. Susan Collins is so amazing with imagery. I think it's one of the reasons she's also so good at world building and why so many people absolutely love her novels. Because she really pulls you into the world, you know? It's no effort to track him, even though he's moving so fast, since he leaves a clear, trampled path in his wake. But the bird is at least half a kilometer away, most of it uphill, and by the time I reach him, I'm winded. He's circling around a giant tree. The trunk must be over a meter in diameter, and the limbs don't even begin until 6 meters up. Wow, gigantic tree. The woman's shrieks emanate from somewhere in the foliage, where the jabberjay is concealed. Finnick screaming as well, over and over. Annie, Annie. He's in a state of panic and completely unreachable. So I do what I do anyway. I scale an adjacent tree, locate the jabberjay, and take it out with an arrow. It falls straight down, landing right at Finnick's feet. He picks it up, slowly making the connection, but when I slide down to join him, he looks more despairing than ever. It's all right, Finnick. It's just the Jabberjay. They're not playing a trick on us, I say. It's not real. It's not your Annie. It's not real. Real or not real? I wonder if they use some sort of Jabberjay imitation to hijack Peter. I think I'm going to write that down. That idea. Obviously, they can manipulate footage, so that would be one way that they manipulated Peter while hijacking. But I do wonder if there was an addition of the Jabberjays in some capacity. Okay, what I've written down here is I wonder if they used Jabberjay imitation or similar technology to hijack Peter. No, it's not Annie, but the voice was hers. Jabberjays mimic what they hear. Where did they get those screams, Katniss? He says. I could feel my own cheeks grow pale as I understand his meaning. Oh, Finnick, you don't think they... Yes, I do. That's exactly what I think. I'm going to just highlight this part about it, and I'm going to write, basically, I think those scream... Okay, Prim's screams, I think, came from the Reaping Day. But Annie is kind of crazy. They could have gotten her screams from, like, anywhere. You know, like, she's hysterical. That's how Katniss describes Annie, I believe, that she's hysterical. Came from the 74th Games Reaping. Annie's possibly from anytime she's hysterical. Like the 75th Hunger Games Reaping. Where do you guys think that the Capitol got the screams for Prim and Annie? Let me know. I have an image of Prim in a white room, strapped to a table, while masked robed figures elicit those sounds from her. Somewhere they are torturing her, or did torture her, to get those sounds. My knees turn to water and I sink to the ground. Finnick is trying to tell me something, but I can't hear him. What I do finally hear is another bird starting up somewhere off to my left, and this time the voice is Gale. See, this one is maybe, like, manipulated in some way. Maybe it is manipulated. Because where would he be screaming? I don't think Gale's characterization aligns with him screaming. Finnick catches my arm before I can run. No, it's not him. He starts pulling me downhill towards the beach. We're getting out of here, but Gale's voice is so full of pain I can't help struggling to reach it. It's not him, Katniss. It's a mutt. Finnick shouts at me. Come on. He moves me along, half dragging, half carrying me until I can process what he said. He's right. It's just another Jabberjay. I can't help Gale by chasing it down, but that doesn't change the fact that it is Gale's voice. And somewhere, sometime, someone has made him sound like this. Not necessarily. Wasn't Gail whipped before these games? Yes, you might be right. Maybe that's where they got the screams from. Okay, I'm going to write that down as an annotation. Thank you. Maybe these are Gail's screams from when he was being whipped. It's a good idea. Thank you. Oh, lots of comments all of a sudden. Okay, let me write this down and I'll read your comments. Okay. Let's have a look at the comments. Prim screams could have come from the 74 Hunger Games grouping. Maybe it came from someone recording her reactions to Katniss's perils in the 74 games. Yes, we know that the family is interviewed. So every time something happens to Katniss, like maybe at the feast, and we're watching Katniss maybe be attacked by Clove, Prim is screaming while they're interviewing her. Could be happening as well. I can see that. It could be from Annie's games when she saw her district partner die. That also did cross my mind. That it's possibly Annie's games, but the only thing is that her games were a couple years ago, and to me, would her voice not have matured in some way? Like, I don't sound the same as I did when, like, if you listen to older videos, I've been told in the past I sound a bit different in my older videos. So in my mind, lots of, like, people, their voices mature in some way as they grow older, their voices change. So I'm like, maybe a couple years doesn't do a lot to a person's voice. If Annie, say, was like 18 and now she's like, how old would she be? Like about 21 by the time of the 75th games. Maybe her voice didn't change that much, but I don't know. But that was my thought, that I'm like, I don't know, would Finnick be able to recognize a younger voice of Annie's? But maybe you can't tell while she's screaming. I don't know. Maybe. I think they possibly could have gotten it from Annie's games. I think that's also very plausible. Actually, I don't know if my phone's going to die in the middle of this stream, so I'm just going to, like, stick it on charge. I'm streaming on my phone right now, so I'm just going to charge it. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds and we'll continue reading. Okay, there we go. I hope that's working. Okay. Where were we up to? Okay. I stopped fighting Finnick, though, and like the night in the fog, I flee what I can't fight. What can only do me... Yeah, I flee what I can't fight. What can only do me harm? Only this time it's my heart and not my body that's disintegrating. This must be another weapon of the clock. 4 o'clock, I guess, when the hands tick-tock onto the 4, the monkeys go home and the Jabberjays come out to play. Finnick is right. Getting out of here is the only thing to do. Although there will be nothing Hamish can send in a parachute that will help either Finnick or me recover from the wounds the birds have inflicted. I know that a lot of people are saying that potentially the Jabberjays, like, what... There's been a lot of talk recently about each segment of, at least what I've been seeing in the fandom, a lot of talk about what potentially is in each point of the, like, each wedge of the clock. And that people are, like, always saying, what would the screams be from if Hamish was in the arena instead of Peter? I'm just going to highlight this. Hang on. I might actually not highlight it. There's another comment as well. Annie seems very traumatized by her experience in her game, so anything could have gotten her to scream. Yeah, flashback, something reminding her of the final showdown in order to allow the escape/rescue of the Mockingjay. Yeah, totally. That's something that I'm like, yeah, I think that pretty much that's like the annotation I did here, that possibly anything that she's hysterical, anytime she's hysterical, I'm like, yeah. If Annie's hysterical, I reckon they could get those screams. Maybe the cornucopia spun to allow Brutus and Anabari to escape, thus delaying this final showdown in order to allow the escape. Yes. Yes. Did I read those comments together on accident? I don't know. I don't have my glasses on. I'm low-key kind of blind. I don't need them like for short distance. My laptop's a little bit far away from me from where I'm reading the comments. So yeah. The first comment I was talking about, Annie, literally anytime they could get a scream from her, anytime she's hysterical. And when the cornucopia allowing Brutus and Anabaria to escape, I definitely see that happening as well. That's a good theory. Because as we know, Plutarch's the head game maker. He can manipulate it in a way that he kind of can think very quickly and come up with a new calculation, like how are we going to get these people out? How are we going to make sure Katniss doesn't turn on all these people during the final bloodbath? We need more time, you know, so he gives them more time. Okay. I catch sight of Peter and Joanna standing at the tree line, and I'm filled with a mixture of relief and anger. Why didn't Peter come to help me? Why did no one come after us? Even now, he hangs back, his hands raised, palms towards us, lips moving but no words reaching us. Why? The wall is so transparent, Finnick and I run smack into it and bounce back onto the jungle floor. I'm lucky. My shoulder took the worst of the impact, whereas Finnick hit face first, and now his nose is gushing blood. That's not fun. This is why Peter and Joanna and even Beatty, who I see sadly shaking his head behind them, have not come to our aid. Oh, that's kind of sad that Beatty's like, oh, can't help them here. Can't help them with that. An invisible barrier blocks the area in front of us. It's like Beatty knows. Like, I wonder, like, did Beatty run because he heard Ampet's voice? Maybe they were trying to lure in Beatty as well, and that's how they turned around and Katniss and Finnick aren't there. But they wouldn't have realized straight away that Katniss and Finnick, maybe, unless they heard the yelling, who knows, and they just couldn't keep up with them. But I wonder if Beatty they tried to lure Beatty in. Although maybe a Jabberjay as well mimicked Katniss's screaming and lured Peter in, thinking that Katniss was dying and being killed by Finnick as well. Because we don't know what happened from their perspective and if they heard the Jabberjays as well. That I find interesting. I'm like, did the rest of the group hear the Jabberjays and go running? Or did they notice Finnick and Katniss were gone and didn't hear the Jabberjays? I find it hard to believe they didn't hear any Jabberjays for themselves. Maybe Peter's nightmares are always about losing Katniss. Wouldn't be surprised if, of course, if he heard Katniss screaming. It's not a force field. You can touch the hard, smooth surface all you like. But Peter's knife and Joanna's axe can make a dent in it. I know, without checking more than a meter to one side, that it encloses the entire 4 to 5 clock wedge. That we will be trapped like rats until the hour passes. Peter presses his hand against the surface, and I put my own up to meet it, as if I can feel him through the wall. I see his lips moving, but I can't hear him, can't hear anything outside our wedge. I try to make out what he's saying, but I can't focus, so I just stare at his face, doing my best to hang on to my sanity. I think I'm just going to highlight this part because it's to do with Peter and Katniss's relationship that I don't know, I just kind of like this paragraph. Sometimes I just highlight things because I like it. I'm going to highlight this part. And this part as well. I've stopped highlighting like most of the page during my live streams. I used to highlight a lot of things, as you can probably tell in my annotating series. So I think that I calmed down a little bit, unless these chapters in particular aren't interesting me when it comes to the full page. Anyway, moving on. Then the birds begin to arrive, one by one, perching in the surrounding branches, and a carefully orchestrated chorus of horror begins to spill out of their mouths. Finnick gives up at once, hunching on the ground, clenching his hands over his ears as if he's trying to crush his skull. I try to fight for a while, emptying my quiver of arrows into the hated birds. But every time one drops dead, another quickly takes its place. And finally I give up and curl up beside Finnick, trying to block out the excruciating sounds of Prim, Gale, my mother, Madge, Rory, Vic, even Posey, helpless little Posey. That's very sad. Even Posey was attacked. I'm going to write that. Even Posey. See, because they're her cousins as well. Or supposed to be her cousins. They're pretending that they're cousins. So they got screams of all of them. But how did they get screams from everyone? Maybe they just listen in and get the footage from cameras around District 12. And they just use whatever screams they can from all of these people. I know it stopped when I feel Peter's hands on me. Because I'm like, how did they get screams from Madge and all the pretend cousins, you know? I know it stopped when I feel Peter's hands on me. Feel myself lifted from the ground and out of the jungle. And obviously Katniss is so small and Peter being so strong that he can easily carry Katniss. But I stay eyes squeezed shut, hands over my ears, muscles too rigid to release. Peter holds me on his lap, speaking soothing words, rocking me gently. It takes a long time before I begin to relax the iron grip on my body. And when I do, the trembling begins. "It's all right, Katniss," he whispers. "You didn't hear them," I answer. "I heard Prim right at the beginning, but it wasn't her," he says. "It was a Jabberjay." Okay. How I was mentioning earlier that we don't know what they heard. Exactly, Peter does say that he heard Prim. And maybe he even went running to save Prim, like Katniss. But he knows that it's not, because he knows that Prim is obviously someone Katniss is very protective of. Did he go running for Prim at first as well? "It was her, somewhere. The Jabberjay just recorded it," I say. "No, that's what they want you to think. The same way I wondered if Glimmer's eyes were in that mutt last year. But those weren't Glimmer's eyes. And that wasn't Prim's voice. Or if it was, they took it from an interview or something and distorted the sound, made it into whatever she was saying." I want to highlight this as well. Propaganda. I'm going to write that as well. It's all just propaganda. "No, they were torturing her," I answer. "She's probably dead, Katniss." "Prim isn't dead. How could they kill Prim? We're almost down to the final 8 of us. And what happens then?" Peter says. See, the voice of reason right here. I'm not going to highlight it. I'm just going to say voice of reason. Good job, Peter. Being the logic where Katniss can't see it. 7 more of us die, I say hopelessly. Katniss. What a pessimist. Okay. No, back home. What happens when they reach the final 8 tributes in the games? He lifts my chin so I don't have to look at him. Forces me to make eye contact. What happens at the final 8? I'm actually going to write pessimist here. I find that funny. Can't just not highlight it for emphasis. Okay, moving on. I know he's trying to help me, so I make myself think. At the final 8, I repeat, they interview your family and friends back home. That's right, says Peter. They interview your family and friends, and can they do that if they've killed them all? No, I ask, still unsure. No, that's how we know Prim's alive. She'll be the first one they interview, won't she? He asks. I want to believe him badly. It's just those voices. First Prim, then your mother, your cousin Gale, Madge, he continues. Emphasis on cousin Gale. Emphasis there. He continues. It was a trick, Katniss, a horrible one. But we're the only ones who could be hurt by it. We're the ones in the games, not them. Well, unless you're Ampert, of course. Ampert definitely got reaped into the games. I wonder if they're airing this conversation as well. The comments, Peter could have figured out that it was a trap / Mockingjays. Yeah, I reckon Peter's quite smart. Like, he has, if he's the voice of reason, he definitely could have heard the Jabberjays and went, why would Prim be in the arena? That's so odd. And then figured it out very quickly. Maybe they have them just saying her name and they distorted the voice to make sure they sound like their screams in distress. Yeah, they very well could have done that as well. I think that's very plausible. You really believe that, I say? I really do, says Peter. I waver, thinking of how Peter can make anyone believe anything. Look over at Finnick for confirmation. See, he's fixated on Peter, his words. Do you believe it, Finnick? I ask. It could be true. I don't know, he says. Could they do that, Beatty? Take someone's regular voice and make it... Oh, yes. It's not even that difficult, Finnick. Our children learn a similar technique in school, says Beatty. See, they can definitely distort voices. I think we can do that just with today's technology. You can distort voices very easily. I can't do it, but I'm sure many people who are much better at technology can. This is also world building when it comes to District 3, knowing that what they do is basically learn very simple, very simple techniques within like the technology sphere. Very normal audios. Okay. Okay, the capital definitely could have distorted very normal audios, and I'm just gonna highlight this and say District 3 world building. Okay, moving on. Oh, I wrote that kind of wonky, didn't I? Oh, well. Of course, Peter's right. The whole country adores Candace's little sister. If they really killed her like this, they'd probably have an uprising on their hands, says Joanna flatly. Don't want that, do they? She throws back her head and shouts, whole country in rebellion? Wouldn't want anything like that. And, explicit rebellion. Gonna highlight that for emphasis. And this is also like to do with how one cannot kill Prim. And we know that Coin killed Prim in Mockingjay because Snow would never do that because he knows that he wouldn't have any sort of leverage against Katniss anymore. And the whole country would really hate the fact that Prim died. So Coin doesn't have that kind of attachment to Prim. Whoops. My mouth drops open in shock. No one ever says anything like this in the games. Absolutely. They've cut away from Joanna, are editing her out. But I have heard her and can never think about her in the same way. She'll never win any awards for kindness. But she certainly is gutsy. Or crazy. She picks up some shells and heads towards the jungle. I'm getting water, she says. I can't help catching her hand as she passes me. Don't go in there. The birds. I remember the birds must be gone, but I still don't want anyone in there. Not even her. They can't hurt me. I'm not like the rest of you. There's no one left I love, Joanna says, and frees her hand with an impatient shake. And we're going to highlight that because that is Joanna saying that they killed everyone she loved, just like they killed everyone Haymitch loved. She did something. Joanna did something really bad in her arena, but we don't know what it is. And I sure would love to know. Do you guys want to know what happened to Joanna? Would love to know what happened in her games. When she brings me back a shell of water, I take it with a silent nod, thanks, knowing how much she would despise the pity in my voice. While Joanna collects water and my arrows, Beatty fiddles with his wire. Finnick takes to the water. I need to clean up too, but I stay in Peter's arms, still too shaken to move. Who did they use against Finnick, he asks. Someone named Annie, I say. Must be Annie Crester, he says. Who? I ask. Annie Crester. She was the girl Mags volunteered for. She won about 5 years ago, says Peter. So she won the 70th games. I always forget which games she won. Always. So I'm going to highlight that. Okay, so basically Annie won the 70th games. That would have been the summer after my father died, when I first began feeding my family, when my whole being was occupied with battling starvation. I don't remember those games much, I say. Was that the earthquake year? Earthquake. Wasn't there an earthquake in Sunrise on the Reaping in the 50th games? Is that not... There was an earthquake and the volcano erupted, right? The ground shook. Or am I remembering that wrong? Something happens. I want to highlight that, just in case we want to emphasize and go back and quote it and say, well, this is very similar to what happened in Sunrise on the Reaping, to be like, is that someone breaking the arena? I'm just going to write that down. Did someone break the arena that year? Okay, did someone break the arena, just as a quote? Or just as an annotation of a quote? Yeah, Annie's the one who went mad when her district partner got beheaded, ran off by herself and hid. But an earthquake broke a dam and most of the arena got flooded. She won because she was the best swimmer, says Peter. And I want to highlight that just because it has to do with who Annie is and how she won her games and all that. So we're just going to highlight that for a little bit of information and world building from Suzanne Collins. Okay, there we go. All highlighted. Did she get better after, I ask? I mean, her mind. I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing her at the games again, but she didn't look too stable during the Reaping this year, says Peter. So that's who Finnick loves, I think. Not his string of fancy lovers in the capital, but a poor, mad girl back home. And I think I just want to highlight that, just for emphasis. Poor Finnick. Poor Annie, who loses Finnick. She's gone through so much. All of them have, all the victors have, but like, it just makes me really sad because we're so attached to Finnick and therefore attached to Annie and her outcome. It makes me sad to think about it. A cannon blast brings us all together on the beach. A hovercraft appears in what we estimate to be the 6 to 7 o'clock zone. We watch as the claw dips down 5 different times to retrieve the pieces of one body torn apart. It's impossible to tell who it was. Whatever happens at 6 o'clock, I never want to know. That's crazy. I'm going to highlight that because we just don't know what happens at the 6 o'clock mark. It's crazy. Is it some beast? I think that... Do people assume it's some kind of beast that tears them apart? Is that what happens? Maybe it's like the squirrels that kill Ampert. Maybe it's something similar to that. What even is it? I'm just going to write that annotation. Moving on. Peter draws a new nap. Oh my god. Yeah, nap. Everyone needs a nap. I need a nap. Peter draws a new map on a leaf, adding a JJ for Jabberjays in the 4 to 5 o'clock section, and simply writing beast in one where we saw the tribute collected in pieces. So yeah, I think that's why everyone says that it's a beast, because Peter assumes it's a beast as well there. We don't know what the hell it is. It has to be some kind of mutt, surely. Oh, do you know what just occurred to me? When it comes to Cato's death, you know why it's so drawn out as well? And why the mutts don't actually eat all of Cato? It's because they need to maybe send a body home. Not that the capital would necessarily care, but maybe that's something that they do, so they want to make sure that there's a body to send home. Who knows? Maybe they don't actually care, but maybe that's a possibility why he isn't fully eaten by the wolf mutts. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong and they just want it to be a long drawn-out death for Cato. We now have a good idea of what 7 of the hours will bring. And if there's any positive to the Jabberjay attack, it's that it let us know we are on the clock face again, where we are on the clock face again. Finnick weaves yet another water basket and a net for fishing. I take a quick swim and put more ointment on my skin. Then I sit at the edge of the water, cleaning the fish Finnick catches and watching the sun drop below the horizon. The bright moon is already on the rise, filling the arena with a strange twilight. We're about to settle down to our meal of raw fish when the anthem begins, and the faces. A lot of people died. I think Mags is even here as well in this one. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm a liar because they were all sleeping when when Candace figured out the clock. I might be wrong. We'll see in a second. I think they show Mags and Wirus at the same time in the movies. We'll see in a second. I don't remember. I'm just highlighting this part because it has to do with food. And the sun drop below the horizon. It's something that Suzanne Collins is always pointing out to us as well, is when the sun rises and when the sun sets. Fun fact. I've noticed that quite often while annotating. Oh yeah, Cashmere, Gloss, Wirus, Mags within like the same 24 hours. The woman from District 5, the morphling who gave her life for Peter. Blight, the man from 10. 8 dead. Plus 8 from the first night is Blight. Oh no, the man from 10. Who was the one that died? The man from 10? Blight was District 7. The man from 10 is possibly the person who died. But in the movies, I think we hear a woman scream. So it's not actually the man from 10 who died in the Beast segment. 8 dead plus 8 from the first night. 2/3 of us gone in a day and a half. That must be some kind of record. They're really burning through us, says Joanna. Who's left? Besides us 5 in District 2, says Finnick. Chaff, says Peter without needing to think about it. Perhaps he's been keeping an eye out for him because of Haymitch. Wow, that's a big difference from the movies as well. They must have done that on purpose in the movies because they thought that it'd be bad to like continuously keep track of Chaff, like he's going to reappear. But Chaff dies in the bloodbath in the movies. So they definitely changed his death. Where is Chaff as well? Off on his own at this point? What's he doing? Maybe he's going through withdrawal symptoms. I think Chaff dies pretty soon as well. Parachute comes down with a pile of bite-sized square-shaped rolls. These are from your district, right, Beatty? Peter asks. Yes, from District 3, he says. How many are there? Well, that's because of the rebel plan. They're communicating. This is to do with food, so they communicate through food. Another meaning of the Hunger Games, communicating through food. Gonna write that as an annotation. Just gonna write it down over here. Okay, what I've written here. Another meaning for the Hunger Games, communicating through food for the rebellion. Finnick counts them, turning each one over in his hands before he sets it in a neat configuration. I don't know what it is with Finnick and bread. He seems obsessed with handling it. 24, he says. And even 2 dozen then, says Beatty. They're communicating. But Katniss has no idea. 24 on the nose, says Finnick. How should we divide them? Let's each have 3, and whoever is still alive at breakfast, we can take a vote on the rest, says Joanna. Oh, Joanna. It makes me laugh as well. I don't know why this makes me laugh a little. Just gonna write me too, Katniss. Okay. I guess because it's true. When I do, Joanna gives me a look that's almost approving. No, not approving, but maybe slightly pleased. We wait until the giant wave has flooded out the 10 to 12 o'clock section, wait for the water to recede, and then go to that beach to make camp. Theoretically, we should have a full 12 hours of safety from the jungle. That's an unpleasant chorus of clicking. There's an unpleasant chorus of clicking, probably from some evil type of insect coming from the 11 to 12 o'clock wedge. Some people think that this clicking is a clicking from some squirrels, and that was meant for Beatty, this segment. So with the idea that has been going around the fandom recently, that each segment is there to torture each of the victors, this is what wedge would be for Beatty. What's the comment? It's funny that I'm listening to this while making my kids grilled cheese. Yeah. Oh, you're eating like in the Hunger Games. Gotta highlight you making grilled cheese. Like I highlight everything to do with the Hunger Games and eating food. But whatever is making the sound stays within the confines of the jungle, and we keep off that part of the beach in case they're just waiting for a carelessly placed footfall to swarm out. I don't know how Joanna's still on her feet. She's only had about an hour of sleep since the game started. Peter and I volunteer for the first watch because we're better rested and because we want some time alone. The others go out immediately, although Finnick's sleep is restless. Every now and then I hear him murmuring Annie's name. Oh, poor Finnick. I can't believe they were separated by death. Damn it. Suzanne Collins, why? Why would you do this to us? Peter and I sit on the damp sand, facing away from each other. This is the conversation that they have. I absolutely love this conversation. Love the scene in the books. In the movies, love that scene. Peter and I sit on the damp sand, facing away from each other, my right shoulder and hip pressed against his. I watch the water as he watches the jungle, which is better for me. I'm still haunted by the voices of the Jabberjays, which unfortunately the insects can't drown out. After a while, I rest my head against his shoulder, feel his hand caress my hair. Katniss, he says softly, it's no use pretending we don't know what the other one is trying to do. No, I guess there isn't, but it's no fun discussing it either. Well, not for us, anyway. The Capitol viewers will be glued to this set so they don't miss one wretched word. I don't know what kind of deal you think you've made with Haymitch, but you should know he made me promises as well. Of course, I know this too. He told Peter that they could keep me alive so that he wouldn't be suspicious. So I think we can assume he was lying to one of us. This gets my attention. A double deal, a double promise, with only Hamish knowing which one is real. I raise my hand. Meet Peter's eyes. Why are you saying this now? Where is it? Real or not real, once again. Because I don't want you forgetting how different our circumstances are. If you die and I live, there's no life for me at all back in District 12. You're my whole life, he says. I would never be happy again. Oh my God, Peter. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, I want to highlight all of this. This whole scene. Although I think I'd be highlighting till the end of the chapter, and I think that's going to slow me down from reading. Okay. Okay. I start to object, but he puts a finger to my lips. Peter, so smooth. Okay, it's hard. It's different for you. I'm not saying it wouldn't be hard. Just let me highlight this whole thing. I'm going back to highlighting the entire page. Okay, moving on. But there are other people who would make your life worth living. And yet Peter's the only, and Hamish, I guess, but I lost my train of thought. What happens is that Peter's the only one that is left to make her life worth living at the end of the day. Peter pulls the chain with the gold disc from around his neck. It's a gold disc, by the way, in the books, not a little rectangle like it is in the movies. So that's a little different. He holds it in the moonlight so I can clearly see the Mockingjay. Then his thumb slides along a catch I didn't notice before, and the disc pops open. It's not solid, as I had thought, but a locket. And within the locket are photos. On the right side, my mother and Prim laughing. And on the left, Gale actually smiling. Where did he get that photo? Where did he get that goddamn photo? Where did the photo of Gale come from? If Gale doesn't, like, smile that much. Like Katniss, how they only smile really around each other. That's so odd. Maybe he snapped a photo at some point. I don't know. Snapped a photo while they were training for the arena. Because Gale was training them on how to, like, hunt and make snares and things like that. I think we're almost done with the chapter, yeah. There is nothing in the world that could break me faster at this moment than these three faces. After what I heard this afternoon, it is the perfect weapon. Your family needs you, Katniss, Peter says. Let me just highlight all of this, okay? Leave me alone. Let me highlight it in peace. Okay. My family, my mother. Oh, maybe it's from when they won the 75th games for the locket photo of Gale, maybe. Like, when they're standing at the train station to meet them. Yeah, I could see that. That might be it. Because how's Effie sourcing those photos so last minute, you know? My family, my mother, my sister, and my pretend cousin Gale. Pretend. But Peter's intention is clear. The Gale really is my family, or will be one day if I live. Katniss, you don't have to marry anyone. I think the Capitol would expect you to grieve Peter for the rest of your life. You're allowed to not get married. Then I'll marry him. So Peter's giving me his life and Gale at the same time. To let me know I shouldn't ever have doubts about it. Everything. That's what Peter wants me to take from him. You don't have to marry anyone, Katniss. You can be free. I saw somewhere the other day, someone made a TikTok, or as a comment on a TikTok or something, that someone said they imagined Peter and Katniss didn't actually get married. Maybe they did, like, the toasting that in spirit that they are married by District 12 traditions, but they don't think Peter and Katniss actually got married legally, because Katniss never really wanted that. And really at the end of the day, what she didn't want to get married. But the reason she also didn't want to get married is kind of similar to the reason she didn't want to have kids, and she did have kids. So I don't know, I think that's up to debate. I wonder if she didn't never get married. Anyway, I'm just writing down, no, Katniss, you don't have to get married. Don't have to get married at all. I wait for him to mention the baby, to play the cameras, but he doesn't. And that's how I know that none of this is part of the games, that he is telling me the truth about what he feels. No one really needs me, he says, and there's no self-pity in his voice. It's true, his family doesn't need him. They will mourn him, as will a handful of friends, but they will get on. Even Hamish, with the help of a lot of white liquor, will get on. I realize only one person will be damaged beyond repair if Peter dies. Me. I do. I say, I need you. Obviously, we're gonna highlight that part. I'm not gonna highlight the entire section. I'm just gonna say no one really needs me, and then just Katniss realizing that she needs Peter as well. Okay. I do. I need you. He looks upset, takes a deep breath as if to begin a long argument. And that's no good. No good at all, because he'll start going on about Prim and my mother and everything, and I'll just get confused. So before he can talk, I stop his lips with a kiss. Feel that thing again. The thing I only felt once before, in the cave last year, when I was trying to get Hamish to send us food. I kissed Peter about 1,000 times during those games and after. But there was only one kiss that made me feel something stir deep inside. Only one that made me want more. But my head wound started bleeding, and he made me lie down. Obviously, I'm gonna highlight this for emphasis. Another meaning of the Hunger Games, hunger here. And this is Katniss really realizing her attraction to Peter. This time, there's nothing but us to interrupt us. After a few attempts, Peter gives up on talking. The sensation inside me grows warmer and spreads from my chest down through my body, out along my arms and legs to the tips of my being. And I'm gonna highlight this before we go into the next page, before I read it out to you guys. Because this is about Katniss's attraction to Peter, and this is something I use to argue about Katniss's sexuality and her potentially being ace. There's a lot of headcanons thinking that she's like demi-romantic, demisexual. So this is one of the arguments I used for actually my dissertation for what I wrote at university. Instead of satisfying me, the kisses have the opposite effect of making my need greater. I thought I was something of an expert on hunger, but this isn't. I thought I was something of an expert on hunger, but this is an entirely new kind. Yeah. I hear people quoting this so much in the fandom. They're like, oh, Katniss, realizing deep down how she's feeling about Peter. It's the first crack of lightning storm, the bolt hitting the tree at midnight, that brings us to our senses. It rouses Finnick as well. He sits up with a sharp cry. I see his fingers digging into the sand as he reassures himself that whatever nightmare he inhabited wasn't real. I can't sleep anymore, he says. One of you should rest. Only then does he seem to notice our expressions, the way we're wrapped around each other. Or both of you, I can watch alone. Peter won't let him, though. It's too dangerous, he says. I'm not tired. You lie down, Katniss. Finnick's like, oh, I know, I've seen this before. I don't object because I do need to sleep if I'm to be of any use keeping him alive. I let him lead me over to where the others are. He puts the chain around the chain with the locket around my neck, then rests his hand over the spot where a baby would be. You're going to make a great mother, you know, he says. He kisses me one last time and goes back to Finnick. Okay. Back to the games and playing it up for the cameras. But really, I lost my train of thought. My God, it's so early in the morning. What he's saying, I've seen some people say that potentially he's meaning like in the future as well, that even if she's not pregnant now, she will make a great mother someday. There is, I'm writing an annotation about this. Okay, what I've written here is there is an air of truth behind this. Peter does believe Katniss will be a great mother one day. His reference to the baby signals that our time out from the games is over. That he knows the audience will be wondering why he hasn't used the most persuasive argument in his arsenal. That sponsors must be manipulated. But as I stretch out on the sand, I wonder, could it be more? Like a reminder that to me that I could still one day have kids with Gale. Well, if that was it, it was a mistake, because for one thing, that's never been part of my plan. And for another, if only one of us can be a parent anyone can see, it should be Peter. As I drift off, I try to imagine that world somewhere in the future with no games, no capital, a place like the meadow in the song I sang to Rue as she died, where Peter's child could be safe. And I want to just highlight all of this, just for a second. Hang on. Someone commented, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think Gale is seething? Oh, he is on 20. Like he's seething. He's seeing this and he's like, he can tell when it's real, this kiss. He was seeing this kiss and he's like, oh, that's a real kiss. He wants to be kissed like that by Katniss. He's seething. I take about it being 20 on a scale of 1 to 10. I want to say like more like 100, you know? Was an annotation I wanted to write as well. And it slipped. What was the annotation that I was going to write? Oh, okay, hang on. I've thought of it. I'll write it down. Let me just highlight this. It's pretty clear. This is the annotation I want to write before we end off this live stream. Basically, Katniss is making it very obvious here that the only way she would have kids, she only wants to have kids with Peter. That's basically what's happening here. Katniss is making it clear even if she doesn't realize it herself, like how Finnick says to her in Mockingjay. Okay. Candace is making it clear, even if she doesn't realize it yet, she only wants to have kids with Peter. And I want to emphasize this last paragraph as well. As I drift off, I try to imagine that world, somewhere in the future with no games, no capital, a place like the meadow in the song I sang to Rue as she died, where Peter's child could be safe. She's imagining Peter's child. Like it's not going to be her child. There's a comment as well. The foreshadowing of Katniss thinking of Peter's child playing into the meadow from the song. Yeah, foreshadowing to the end of Mockingjay with the epilogue, definitely. Susan Collins, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually knew at this point how she was going to end the series with that epilogue, or at least had a vague idea. Like how we know while rereading the trilogy, we can tell that Susan Collins had a vague idea of Haymitch's backstory and the story with Haymitch. So she definitely had it mapped out at this point. And whatever book we get in the future, I'm almost certain Susan Collins already has it mapped out. She just doesn't have like the inspiration to write it just yet. I'm sure she has books lined up and she knows how she's gonna like officially end the series. But yeah, I love this last paragraph a lot. And when it comes to like she's talking about Peter's child, because she's literally imagining a life for Peter that she doesn't think she'll be allowed to live. She's not imagining Gail's child. She's imagining Peter's child because she wants kids with Peter, but she doesn't think she's going to survive. So, yes, it's very clear that she wants children only with Peter. That's the only time she ever considers children in this situation, is when it's in reference to Peter. Otherwise, she's saying, no, it's not in the plan. I don't want kids. I don't want them to be raped in the Hunger Games. That whole thing. It's very obvious. This is also a quote that people use when people are like, oh, why did Katniss become a mother at the end? I think it's so weird that it's very out of character for her, because she's going on and on and on about how she doesn't want kids ever because she doesn't want them to be raped. But this is evidence that she does think about kids. She does think about Peter's child because she wants kids deep down. She just feels like she can't have them if they're going to be raped into the Hunger Games. And I believe. Like, I don't particularly like she had children, especially when I first read the epilogue. I didn't particularly like it, but I can definitely see the significance of it now that Katniss and Peter finally, Katniss in particular, finally felt safe to have children in the epilogue, that there is a reason why she had children. It's very significant. So that is the end of chapter 24 and the end of this live stream. So next live stream, we're going to do chapter 25 and chapter 26. Maybe 27. We don't have a whole lot left. Wow. Okay, that'd be quite a number of pages to do in one live stream. Tomorrow I'm going to be back tomorrow morning, the same time as I live streamed today. So if you guys want to watch that live streams, tune in again tomorrow. I'm going to be live streaming over the weekends. I think it's like Friday afternoon for my American subscribers, but it's Saturday morning for me, and it'll be Sunday morning. So every Saturday and Sunday morning Australian time I'm going to be live streaming, afternoons for American subscribers, if you guys want to tune in for that. I don't know, chapters 26, 20 and 27, we'll see how far I get and if I feel up to, you know, doing all of those annotations. That's quite a few annotations. That'll be a long live stream if I do that. But we're almost finished with Catching Fire. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate everyone who's been commenting and having a conversation in the comments. So yeah, that is it for Catching Fire today. This live stream will save in my live section as well, if you guys want to go back if you didn't catch the full live stream. It'll take a bit to load on there, but I also, if you guys haven't seen it already, I have also this morning uploaded a video where it's titled Peter was luckier than Lord oh my god, stuttering over my words. Peter was luckier than Lenore Dove. If you guys want to check out a bit of characterization to do with Peter and Lenore Dove and how they are very similar in a lot of different ways, definitely go and check out that video after this live stream. So yeah, thank you guys once again so much for joining this live stream. But I'll see you guys in the next one tomorrow. Bye!